So in 2020, I was living by myself and then I got my heart broken a week later. That winter, when that happened to me, I got pushed into a position where I was so uncomfortable and so up to my eyeballs with feeling that I was at a crossroads where I didn't have enough comfort and safety in my system to be able to just move on like nothing was happening. So I was either going to keep eating. Honestly, that's what I was doing. So I was like having a glass of wine and eating a sheet of sugar cookies. That's what I did that winter. I just ate sheets and sheets of sugar cookies that I was baking and frosting and eating myself. And I gained 20 pounds during that winter. And it was because I was not connected with myself. I was viewing myself as a problem. I wasn't truly having compassion for myself. I was looking at all of these things that I didn't like about me and my body, and I wanted to correct them. And I felt up to my eyeballs. And so instead of caring for myself and checking boxes, I was just eating and getting really depressed and not showing up for myself. And I just had a few moments where I was like, Claire, are we going to become obese? Because that's where we're going. Is that the choice? And I'm so grateful that I knew about Louise Hay and her mirror workbook that I had found in 2013, because the thing that changed this all for me was literally stopping when my heart was broken and I felt so lonely and so empty because there wasn't anybody that I could call in the middle of winter, in the middle of a pandemic, living by myself in someone else's house sitting, where I just felt it was the lowest that I've ever felt. And in that state, I just started going to the mirror and looking at all that I was holding. I would see the tears in my eyes. I would see the weight that I gained. I would absolutely connect 100% to the loneliness in my chest. It was like the hollowness would amplify when I would look at myself in the mirror. And it was me really taking in how much pain I was holding. And that visual, seeing how devastated I was, seeing how hurt I felt and how alone I felt, and witnessing that process in myself, I'm so good at doing that with other people. Like leading up to that, I spent hours and hours with families in the hospital who were losing their loved ones to cancer. And I sat with them and they cried, and I witnessed their grief process and how hard they were being on themselves about not having caught it earlier or whatever it was. I held that space so beautifully for other people, and I'd never held it for myself.
Mm.
And when I finally started looking in the mirror and looking at myself like I looked at those families, with compassion, with understanding, with space for their grief, when I gave myself that space, it started to feel like it felt neglectful. If I was feeling something deeply and I started to go, no, I don't want to feel that, whatever, I'd rather do something else, it started to feel like that's not kind, Claire. Your heart hurts. Pause. Don't pull through this. Don't force yourself to continue doing whatever you're doing. Don't hold it together. That's so inhumane. It's like I really started to view myself as a person. And so every time I would go to the mirror and see the pain in my own eyes, and at first disengage and let myself sob, and then come back and make eye contact with myself and see more of my pain and let myself cry, the more practice I got with that in holding that space for myself, the easier it got for me to feel those tears in other moments when I didn't have access to a mirror. And it meant that I started to metabolize more of my pain. And in between that crying, I felt greater relief. I felt more joy. I felt less irritated by other people, less offended. I just started to notice that I was more emotionally resilient because I was letting myself off gas all of that stuff. So for me now, 5 years into this, when I start talking about how much, this is very corny when I'm about to say, so brace yourself. When I start thinking and talking about how much I love my human and who she is and what she's doing in her life and how brave she is, I can get choked up because I feel so proud of myself, which will give a lot of people the ick, and that's fine, but that's true for me. not in a boastful way, not in a self-important way, in a like, I'm my own daughter kind of way. Like, I am my own mother, like that kind of feeling. Like, this human has really come a long way. The level of love that I feel for other people, I feel for myself. And it took practice and it took really catching my brain how I was talking to myself. But now, 5 years later, really valuing my own process and my own feelings and holding space for that. Crying is this beautiful, gentle, loving thing that I do for myself to free myself of my pain because I don't deserve to carry it. And so it doesn't feel good to not feel the pain. I would so much rather sit down and grieve for 5 minutes than be holding that shit in my system for the next week and thinking about it over and over again because I haven't taken the time to feel it. So we just have to orient ourselves differently. And it is a reorientation. We do think of ourselves as a list of things that need to be fixed. We do kind of think of ourselves as being messed up in certain ways and needing to be different and wanting to not interrupt people or not wanting to be so bothered by other people's opinions or whatever it is. We all have things that we go, I wish this was different about me. But the truth is, you're saying that to yourself. Like, that's a judgment of you that's going to make you less likely to then be willing to feel your feelings later. So, when we talk about self judgment, it's really going, I need to be really kind and look for where my human is hurting so that when they're having a hard time, I actually stop and feel it instead of skipping over it.